Hi, my name's Landon Clement. I chose the podcast What Studying Twins Can Teach Us About Ourselves with Nancy Siegel. The reason I chose this podcast is I know a lot of twins in my life, and I think it'd be really interesting to watch a podcast and take notes on why they have these similarities and discrepancies that I've been kind of noticing throughout all of high school and college, and what factors kind of play into that. And so I thought the main idea of this podcast with Nancy Siegel was to kind of show that genetic influence and genetic research is still very prevalent in today's society, and that it should be taken seriously, and that basically that genetics is plays a major factor within research today and within society and everyday life. And so one of the main ideas, I'll just read the question. What are the main ideas, findings, or arguments presented in the podcast episode? One of the main ideas I saw was classic twin theory, which basically puts identical twins and fraternal twins next to each other. And for those of you that don't know, identical twins are ones that share 100% of genes, and fraternal twins are ones that share 50%. And so if the identical twins acted more alike in certain areas, that would show that genetics actually played a role into that. Because if the fraternal twins and identical twins grew up in the same environment, had the same, influence around them, but the shared twin or the identical twins made some of the same decisions that the fraternal twins did not, it kind of showed how genetics played a role into that. And so one other main idea that I kind of noticed were identical twins are just not identical. And so, like, common to I can't even think of the word, popular to contrary belief, that identical twins don't actually always look the same and act the same. And so what that means is that there's environmental influences that kind of affect that in a way. Like, if an identical twin is malnourished versus one isn't, they'll look different. Or if there's a mutation with their genes, they could share all their genes except for one mutation that caused a change within it. And so I thought that was really interesting because that kind of broadened my eyes to why identical twins just aren't always look the same or act the same. Course concepts. What psychological theories, concepts, or research findings from our class/lectures helped you interpret or evaluate the content in the podcast? One thing I noticed was nature versus nurture. That was a huge topic within our psychology class about basically genetic versus environmental factors, and how basically they're intertwined in a way, and how you can't analyze one without analyzing the other. And so the genes are kind of turned on/turned off. It's like a light switch from the environmental factors. And one of these, like this, she used an example actually about a space trip, and I forgot the astronaut's name, but basically this astronaut went to space and came back, and they did studies on her genetics before and afterwards, and noticed how there were genetic changes inside of her body, and about how some of these genetic changes actually stayed the same when she got back, and how some reverted back to its original state, which kind of shows a relationship between nature and nurture, and about the environmental changes that she had. Another one is environmental influences on twins. One thing I thought was interesting was and that we talked about in class, is about how there's like shared traits and not shared traits. And what that means is if twins grow up in the same environment shared factors or not shared factors. And about how if identical twins grow up with these shared environmental factors, that means that they'll have the same, influences on them. But if there's something that's not shared, like say they're split up from birth and they are analyzed, those factors can actually affect them separately, which means that it might lead to discrepancies in the way they act or behave. Third question is, what personal reactions did you have? Did the episode change how you think about this topic? Can you connect it to your own experiences, current events, or other sources of information? Personal reaction, I mean, one thing I noticed was the ethical implications of it, like how they talked about separating twins at birth to analyze them separately. I don't think that's very ethical to set up your sibling. I love my younger brother, and I guess we aren't twins, but at the same time, it's just being separated from your family. It's just not right. And so it kind of breaks the line of research ethics, and about how even though the studies are like popular studies and leads to very brilliant information, it's not ethical to actually hold the study itself. And then another one was pretty much the doppelganger study, and about how I thought that was a pretty good control group in a way, and how if people look similar but aren't actually related in any way, will they perform in the same way that identical twins were? And they actually didn't share that trait. They don't share traits with one another. So it really shows how twins do have a genetic implication and effect on one another. And finally, just connection to current events. Finding twins, searching for siblings online is a huge thing nowadays with DNA tests. And I thought how that kind of shows that we as humans have a biological connectedness with one another, and like a personal connection. And so, sorry, I'm kind of running out of time here, but I think those are all the things I want to discuss about our podcast. Thank you.